A woman on Reddit says her relationship felt almost perfect, stable, loving, and built on trust, until a single accidental discovery changed everything she thought she knew about the man she'd been with for 3 years. And what she found wasn't just suspicious. It was something she says she'll never forget. She starts by explaining a little background. She's 28 years old, and at the time this happened, she'd been dating her boyfriend, who's 30, for just over 3 years. They met through mutual friends, hit it off almost immediately, and moved at what she considered a healthy pace. No rushing, no dramatic fights, no big red flags. In her words, the relationship felt easy. They didn't live together yet, but they were actively planning it. They'd already talked about finances, future goals, even kids someday. Friends and family liked him, her parents trusted him, and most importantly, she trusted him completely. She says that trust is what makes what happened next so disturbing, because she wasn't looking for anything. While sitting in the parked car before heading into a store, she decided to clean out the cup holders and side compartments. Old receipts, empty water bottles, a few coins. Then she leaned down to grab something that had rolled under the passenger seat. That's when her fingers brushed against something solid. At first, she thought it was a power bank, but when she pulled it out, her stomach dropped. It was a phone. Not cracked, not dead, not an old flip phone from years ago. A modern smartphone, fully charged. She says the first thing she felt wasn't anger. It was confusion. Why would he have a second phone? She checked the lock screen. No notifications, but it was clearly active. No dust, no scratches, no signs it had been sitting there forgotten for months. Her heart started racing. She tells Reddit she sat there for a full minute just staring at it, debating with herself. She knew touching it felt wrong. She knew looking would cross a line, but she also knew something wasn't adding up, so she unlocked it, and that's when everything unraveled. The phone didn't require Face ID or a complex password, just a simple code. Inside were multiple messaging apps, and inside those apps were conversations with women she had never heard of. Some of the messages were flirty, some were explicit, some referenced plans to meet up, and some went back more than a year. She says the worst part wasn't even the content. It was the timeline. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. This was a pattern, a secret life. She describes feeling physically sick. Her hands were shaking, her ears were ringing. She had to sit back in the seat because she suddenly felt dizzy. And then she saw something that made it even worse. One conversation mentioned her by name. She says at that moment, she stopped reading. Not because she felt guilty, but because she felt numb. She locked the phone, placed it back under the seat exactly where she'd found it, and went into the store like nothing had happened. She doesn't remember what she bought. She barely remembers driving home. All she could think about was how calm he'd seemed every day, how normal everything had felt, how stupid she suddenly felt for never questioning anything. That night she confronted him, but not immediately. She says she waited for hours, replaying conversations in her head, wondering if there was any explanation that would make this okay. By the time she finally brought it up, she was exhausted. She asked him calmly if there was anything he needed to tell her. He said no, so she mentioned the phone. According to her, his reaction was instant. First, he laughed. He said she was being ridiculous, claimed it must be an old phone he forgot about. Then he said maybe it belonged to a friend. When she told him she'd unlocked it, his tone changed. That's when the excuses started coming fast. He said the messages didn't mean anything, that it was just entertainment, that it was a way to blow off steam, that he never met up with anyone, even though the messages suggested otherwise. Then, when none of that worked, he turned it around on her. He accused her of invading his privacy. He asked how she could betray his trust like that. She says that's when something inside her snapped. She didn't yell, she didn't cry, she didn't argue anymore. She stood up, went into the bedroom, packed a bag, and left. No dramatic speech, no final warning, just silence. She spent the night at a friend's place and didn't respond to his messages. According to her, he called over a dozen times, left voicemails apologizing, then angry ones, then apologetic again. The next morning, she blocked him, and that's when she posted on Reddit. At this point in the story, Reddit had a lot to say. Many commenters were firmly on her side. The top-rated responses called the second phone a cheater classic. Several people said there was no innocent explanation for a hidden, fully active phone with secret conversations. One commenter wrote that the real betrayal wasn't the messages. It was the sustained deception, the ability to lie every day without slipping. Others praised her for leaving immediately instead of getting pulled into endless excuses. But not everyone agreed. Some commenters criticized her for unlocking the phone. They argued that regardless of what she found, going through someone else's device crossed a boundary. A few suggested she should have confronted him without looking, or at least demanded an explanation before walking away. That debate quickly got heated. The phone wasn't a mistake. It was a system. She learned that some mutual friends had suspected something but never said anything because they didn't have proof. That revelation hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. She's since moved on, cut contact with most of that social circle, and started therapy. She says the hardest part now isn't missing him. It's rebuilding her sense of judgment. Then came the update. A few weeks later, she returned to Reddit with an aftermath. She says she eventually unblocked him to retrieve some of her belongings. During that conversation, more details came out. He admitted the phone was specifically for talking to other women. He claimed he never met up with anyone, though she says she no longer believes that. He also admitted he'd never planned to stop. She ends her post by asking one simple question. Did she overreact? Was leaving immediately too extreme? Or was it the only reasonable response? Reddit, as expected, had a verdict. The overwhelming majority said she did the right thing, because trust, once shattered like that, doesn't come back. So now it's your turn. If you found a hidden phone with secret conversations that went back over a year, would you have walked away immediately? Or would you have stayed for answers? Let me know what you think. And if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons.